Hi, my name is Angel, and first of all, I want to apologize if there's a little bit more background noise than normal. It is way too hot here today, so I have to keep the window open while I do this. So if you can hear, there's like a bird cawing right now, so if you can hear that, I apologize. If you hear vehicles, I'm sorry, but I don't want to die sweating while trying to film this. Also, if you can see this, no you can't. Just, that's not there, okay? Okay. Anyways, today we're here to do the mid-year book tag or the mid-year freakout tag. I think it goes by both names, or I've seen people post videos under both names. But I'm very excited to do this. We are halfway through 2023. So far, I have read 107 books, I believe. So I've got 11 questions here that I'm going to answer and just talk to you guys about some of the books that I've read so far this year. So let's go ahead and get into it. Question number 1 is the best book that you've read so far in 2023. I cannot choose just one, but I am doing like a little book bracket where I pick the best book from each month and then you compare them and then you choose the next one. So I'll pop up a picture of that here. I'm not going to do like full on reviews of these books, but we can talk through them. So in January, my best book of that month was The Pisces by Melissa Broder, which I really didn't expect to love it as much, but it was one of those where I finished it and I was like, I know this is 5 stars. And then I just went on to keep thinking about it for like weeks after. Sometimes I still think about that book, and so it was that reason that I actually put it into my all-time favorite shelf, and it is a top contender for one of my best books of 2023. Then in February we have Jackal by Aaron E. Adams. This one is like very mystery thriller-ish at the beginning. Like it starts off as a mystery and then towards the end it takes on like a weird kind of fantasy-esque horror type, which I think is what a lot of people disliked about the book because they were really interested in the mystery and they didn't like how unrealistic things got at the end. But I actually loved that, and it's got a lot of things that I love in horror or mystery books, like disappearances and creatures in the woods and that type of thing. Also, the cover is beautiful. I say that every time I talk about this book, but it's true. Then in March, my best book was The Book of Most Precious Substance by Sarah Gran. This is another one that I really didn't think I was going to love that much. The beginning of the book, I was like, oh, this is okay. Like, it's not bad. It's pretty good. And then the more that it went on and the crazier that it got and just like the wild stuff that happened, this is another one that like for weeks after I finished it, I just kept thinking about it. So I just knew it had to be a top book because, I don't know, it's just a book that is not very easy to forget. Then in April, my best book was God Emperor of Dune by Frank Herbert. This one I actually wasn't even sure if I was going to read. After I read the first 3 books in the Dune series, Children of Dune was kind of losing me a little bit in my excitement for the world and the Dune universe. But I heard the synopsis of book 4 where Leto, who is Paul's son, is like merged with a worm and has been ruling over Atreides for like 3,000 years. So it piqued my interest and I read it and I loved it so much. But it is very much like philosophical, like the thought process of the God Emperor. So it's not very like high action or really high sci-fi. So I can see why people don't like it because of that. But I really loved that book. Then in May, my best book was Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Huang. I did vlog my reading process with this. I think that was in the trying to find a 5-star read. And this is another one that I still think about. I loved the direction that it took and just the premise from the beginning of like the horrors of the wellness industry is like, it's so real and I really enjoyed it. And then June, I don't have one yet because it's not quite the very end of the month. So I might have something that surprises me in like the last week of June, but so far it's probably between Brother by Anya Alborn or The Need by Helen Phillips. Both were 5-star reads for me this year, or this month, I should say, and they both were very intriguing. Question number 2 is the best sequel that you've read so far this year. I don't read a lot of series. I tend to gravitate more towards standalone books. However, at the very beginning of, I think it was like my second book of the year, I read Hunting by Stars by Sherry Dimeline, which is the sequel to The Marrow Thieves. So the Marrow Thieves takes place in this like dystopian future where humans have lost the ability to dream, except for um, in the bone marrow of like native people, that is how they can still get the ability to dream. So now they're trying to kidnap native people and harvest this substance from them so that they can be able to dream. So it's very like intense, and the characters I think are all written so well. So Hunting by Stars, like I said, is the sequel, so we're following the same group of people that we had in the first book, but they reunite with one of the boys from their group that had gone missing, and he was actually taken by, I can't remember what they're called, but the group of people that is trying to find native people to take their bone marrow. So he has been taken by them and kind of converted and like brainwashed into their idea of thinking. So now he is sent out to get that old group of people that he used to associate with. He is now on the mission to bring them into this place so that they can get harvested. So it is really, really interesting. These are two books that I highly recommend, will always recommend. Like, if you ever read any books that I ever talk about, please let it be these two because they are fantastic. Okay, that bird was driving me crazy, so I just shut the window. Hopefully I don't die of heat in here. Anyways, question number 3 is new release you haven't read yet but really want to. I have way too many to really talk about them in detail, so I'm just going to highlight a few that I'm very, very excited for. So, a little bit of a speed run here. Everything the Darkness Eats, Episode 13, Chlorine, Page Boy, Monstrilio, More Perfect, and Drowning, which I actually won the giveaway through Goodreads for, so I do have the physical copy upstairs, so I can actually, I'm pretty confident I'll be able to check that one off soon. But there was a bunch. Those are the, I guess, the ones that I'm most excited to read. But like I said, it's just too many to go through all of them, so we're just going to leave it at that for now. Question number 4 is my most anticipated book for the second half of the year. So I have a whole bunch of new releases that I am very, very excited to read. I think I'm going to do just a separate video on those and go through all of those more in depth. If I had to choose one release in the second half of 2023 that I am the most excited for, it is probably What Kind of Mother... Sorry, my cat decided to knock something over. Anyways, if I had to choose one that I was most excited for in the second half of the year, it would be What Kind of Mother by Clay McLeod Chapman. He wrote Ghost Eaters and Whisper Down the Lane, which I loved. Ghost Eaters was a 5-star, one of my all-time favorites. Whisper Down the Lane I gave 4.5 stars, I think. I don't know what it is about Clay McLeod Chapman's writing, but I'm just obsessed. Like, I eat his shit up so fast. Like, I don't know. It's like, when I read his books, I am like addicted to them, and I don't want to stop until I finish the story because I just love it so much. So I don't really entirely know the plot of this one. I know it's like Southern Gothic, and there's like a mystery with this woman. I don't really know. And to be honest, I don't really care because I'm going to read it either way, and I'm sure I'm going to love it either way. So most anticipated is probably that one. Number 5 is biggest surprise of this year so far. I think the one that fits the best with this prompt is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I don't typically read a lot of romance, and when I do, I tend to be very, very picky with it. So the fact that I read this book and really enjoyed it and gave it 4 stars, I think that definitely qualifies it for this prompt, that I was very surprised that I enjoyed it. And now I'm so ready to read some of her other books. Love Theoretically just came out. It should be coming to me soon from the library. This is why you place hold on things before they actually get released, so then you can be at the very front of the wait list instead of like 100 people down the wait list. So I think I'm number 2 in the queue. Very, very excited. Yeah. Number 6 is favorite new author. I think for this one I would have to choose Anya Allborn. I've only read The Shuddering by her and Brother. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. Brother was a 5-star read for me. The Shuddering I gave like 3.75. The only thing that I disliked about that book was the ending. But it's kind of funny because I feel like, I guess that's just an Anya Allborn thing, because Brother, the ending kind of was the same way, where you don't get really any satisfaction, but I loved it in Brother, and it just didn't work for me in The Shuddering. So, I don't know, but really love her writing, really love her stories. I feel like they're so unique and not like anything that you really read elsewhere. So I think pretty much all of her books are on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm very, very excited to continue reading books by her and hopefully loving them. Question number 7 is your newest fictional crush. I don't know. I don't typically get fictional crushes on people, and I feel like that's typically a thing that is associated with like romance, which, like I said, I don't read a lot. However, going back to the love hypothesis, Adam Carlson was the only like fictional man to make me feel something. I was like, I love this man so much. So if I had to choose one, I guess that would be him. Number 8 is books that made you cry, which it's a kind of a rare experience for me to cry while reading. I think the only book that I personally can remember crying at was A Little Life, because that book just throws so much shit at you. Anyways, I will talk about some books that I read that made me sad. Even though I didn't necessarily cry, they were still sad. So we have And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer by Frederick Bachman. This is about a elderly man with Alzheimer's, and he is trying to hold on to his favorite memories until the very end. Obviously, you can understand why that would be so sad. The next 2 are nonfiction books, Know My Name by Chanel Miller, and then A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis. So Know My Name is a memoir about the Brock Turner case and the woman who suffered at the hands of Brock Turner. So her telling her story and just talking about like rape culture and the justice system, and especially in America, like it's so sad and heart-wrenching to read her story, but it's so powerful and I would definitely recommend it. And then A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis is kind of a collection of like things that he wrote after his wife passed. So it was very, very interesting and obviously very sad at some points, because I feel like, you know, whether it's a family member, a friend, an animal, like everybody at some point in their life has or will experience a grief like that. So to read somebody else's experience with that is very interesting, but obviously very sad because it's such a relatable topic, I think. The next one also is nonfiction. That was Eating Animals, which made me sad for a whole different reason. Just, I don't know. I don't eat meat, and factory farming, animal agriculture is just so devastating to me, and it really makes me sad when I think about it, so that's why that one's in here. Then the other 2 that were a little bit sad while I was reading them is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and then The Road by Cormac McCarthy, which is just a depressing and hopeless book, so obviously it's gonna be sad. And to go along with that, the next question is a book that made you happy, or books that made you happy. I have a lot, obviously. I feel like that's a good thing, but one standout for me is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This is another one of those rare romance reads for me. I was seeking something high in summer vibes, and this delivered. It was a little silly and ridiculous at some points with the drama, and I will admit that, but my reading experience with this book is really what made it for me. Like I said, just the whole very high summer vibes, but also it's like the way you want to feel with any book that you read is how this book made me feel, where I was just like so giddy and happy reading it, and I just wanted to keep going and stay in this little universe that Carly Fortune has created, and the lake house, and really just, like I said, the summer vibes. So that one is definitely a standout for me in making me feel happy. Number 10 is Most Beautiful Books You Have Bought or Received. I don't buy too many books, just because obviously I gotta watch what I'm spending money on, and I try not to buy new books as well. I try to go for like used books. However, I do have 3 that I bought this year that I do really like the covers. So up first we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This is a book of the month one, so it's got the little book of the month thing and then the book of the year sticker on it, which kind of makes it a little bit less pretty in my opinion, but it's still a gorgeous cover, and the spine as well, just the rainbow, so good. Then I Love You But I've Chosen Darkness is a leather cover that I really, really love. I don't even know what it is about this cover, but I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And then I also really love the cover of Empire of Wild by Sherry Dimeline. It's like these trees in the woods, but it's got these like purple, like shimmery, I don't know, glittery things. I don't know how to explain it, but it's really pretty to me. And then some honorable mentions for books that I don't personally own, but I have read this year and I love the covers. Walking Practice, Jackal, and What Moves the Dead are some standouts for me. And the last question, number 11, what books do you absolutely need to read by the end of this year? I have a lot once again, but some standouts from my physical TBR are Requiem for a Dream, Once There Were Wolves, Recursion by Blake Crouch. Some other ones that I really want to get to are The Last House on Needless Street and Whalefall. And then I also really want to read To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, which is a sci-fi book that is almost 900 pages, so I'm a little bit scared. But I do still really hope to read that this year. I just don't know when I'll be able to fit that in. I'm gonna leave it at that for now. And yeah, like I said, that was the last question. I think this was a just fun little way to do a little bit of a wrap up and talk about what I've read so far this year and what my reading plans are for the later half of the year. So thank you so much for watching. If you want to share your answers to any of these questions down below, please do. I would love to hear it, and I hope I see you next time.